Hey, you gonna be at PAX South? Us too. Why don't you come see us do a live episode and a live Q&A session Saturday the 30th at 8 p.m. in the Falcon Showroom. Best named showroom. I love it. This is why I'm so pissed that I couldn't just wait a couple more months for my TV. Is the biggest thing for Mad Max is going to be the HDR color.
Yeah, I know. It's that deep black, that inky black. It's just so striking. It's just so striking.
My television is garbage.
Ugh!
I just got it.
What did we do that for?
My television is 6 months old. It's the worst television on the
Stupid.
planet. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. I want to talk about something else that you see a lot of at CES.
What's that?
You see a lot of 3D printing, and you see a lot of VR.
Ah, yeah, man.
And I'm real into VR.
Me too. I threw my money at it already.
But I will say, I'm one of those people where, while I do want to play games on my VR, I think the biggest uses of VR will not be games, at least not for a while.
Right.
I think the more interesting uses of VR are things like documentary filmmaking or news reporting or things that are in segments of the industry that have nothing to do with games.
Right.
And we got a story sent in to us by Flying Penguins 42. I think this is Flying Penguins' first submission. Welcome, Flying Penguins.
Which is just 42 penguins that put their heads together.
Yep.
And decided to
built a flying machine and learned how to use the internet. There's nothing 42 penguins can't do if they put their heads together.
That's what I've always said. I've always said that.
Flying Penguins 42 submitted this to our subreddit, wehaveconcerns.reddit.com. You can also send things to wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. And this is about a baby that was born
with VR goggles on?
With VR goggles on.
That must have been an uncomfortable birth.
This baby only knows what it's like to live in the wired.
Live in the wired.
This baby is future baby. No, this baby,
Keanu Reeves,
sadly, was born with only one lung.
Oh my goodness.
And half a heart.
Oh my God.
Missing the entire left side of the heart.
And it was born alive?
It was born alive.
Oh my goodness.
Missing the
impossible.
left. Yeah, I know, right? Missing the entire left side of the heart, including the left ventricle, which is like the workhorse of the heart. This is the actual thing that that makes the blood go. The right ventricle is sort of like support ventricle. So the doctors basically looked at this baby and said, hey, take this baby home, enjoy your time with your baby, because your baby is not going to live.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's awful. It's awful.
The worst thing.
But this couple, they were like, there's got to be something we can do. There has to be something we can do. So they started looking around for second opinions.
I can't believe that this is going to lead us to VR in some way, because right now we're in very dark territory.
This is very dark territory, but I want you guys to know that everything turns out okay. So this was happening to Cassidy and Chad Lexon in Minnesota. And they were told, look, there's nothing you can do. But they took these images of their baby Tegan's heart. They sent those images to Boston and to Miami and to all these different top-rated children's hospitals, and they're like, there's got to be something you can do for our baby. Nobody had ever seen anything like this before.
Oh, it's a rare condition.
This is super rare.
Yeah.
These doctors in Miami were sitting around a table, and they were like, can we do anything? And they were like, you know what?
The table was key. Because if they were not sitting around a table, they probably would have just fucked right off and not done anything about it.
Yeah.
But thankfully, they were sitting around a table.
Thankfully, they were there. They were sitting at the work table.
Yeah.
Had they been I don't know, playing squash or whatever.
Right.
They probably just been like, can we do something? Can we do something for this baby? I don't know.
There's no table.
I don't know. Without a table, I can't properly envision anything. So they were all sitting around this table. Very important table. Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, what can we do? And what they normally do is they'll take the images of the patient's heart, do a 3D model, and then print it in 3D so the doctors can look at it, without opening up a baby. You kind of, it's like, if you can...
a lot better. Already we're in a place that we couldn't do 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, to just be like, hey, yo, send it to the 3D printer, let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
Is the craziest sentence that I think I've ever heard.
Right.
What are we going to do about this baby's heart? I don't know. Print me out a model of the heart and I'll be able to tell you.
I want to hold it in my hand and look at it from all angles.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
That's okay. okay, doctor, I'm sure you do. Woohoo! That's like 10 years ago. Everybody's like, yeah, I'm sure you would like to look at a model of this baby's heart.
Yeah, I wish we could do that for you.
Yeah, I wish we could do that. I'm sorry. What we have is this x-ray, so fuck you.
Yeah.
What can you do? So the 3D printer was broken.
Oh, my God.
So they
spent all their money on the table.
Yeah, it was a really nice table.
Yeah,
I think it was like
a thinking table.
Yeah, it was good thinking table. It was like Italian marble. Some people would say, should the Children's Hospital have spent a lot of money on an Italian marble table for the break room?
I don't know. I think the results speak for themselves, though.
I'm not a doctor.
No. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. I mean, some people would say that I never was.
Some people would say that the reason that you're not is because you were constantly just buying tables.
Sure. A lot of people would say that the reason I no longer am a licensed surgeon, if I was ever a licensed surgeon, and we're not going to get bogged down in that.
No, why would we?
Is that I was spending a lot of hospital money on various types of tables and furniture.
Yeah, you spend 90% of your workday at IKEA.
Sure.
Some people would say that's not what doctors do.
Yeah, some people would say, if you're going to get a nice table, why even go to IKEA?
Yeah, that's not where nice tables are made. But that's not a doctor's opinion.
Yeah, that's not, listen, I'm a medical doctor. I'm not a carpenter.
Right.
I mean, some people would say I'm not either.
Some people, but those people don't understand the kinds of tables that you were bringing into the office.
Sure. People didn't understand what I was bringing to the tables. Mostly other tables. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in this. It's a recursive table over table over table, Russian nesting doll.
We explained this to both of the officers and the judge, and I think that all of them were equally frustrated.
Look, maybe if I was a real doctor, I would have been able to tell the difference between a model heart and an actual baby's heart.
Maybe.
And maybe I wouldn't have walked out of those doors with a baby's heart.
maybe
I wouldn't have put a lump of plastic into a baby. I don't know.
We can't talk in hypotheticals.
In the moment, you can't tell me that you wouldn't have made the same decision.
No. When it's all out on the table.
Which table?
Beautiful table. The beautifulest table.
Okay. When it's all out on a really nice table.
Yeah. You gotta just put the chips down where they may.
Well, I don't put chips on the really nice table.
Oh, you don't use.
I have a snack table that I bought that I put next to the surgery table.
That's what that is? That's the snack table?
Or is that the one?
I thought that was the baby heart table.
I don't know. It's hard to keep operating rooms clean is what I learned.
Also,
anyway,
there's a lot of tables in here.
There's a lot of tables. Some people would say, hey, buy a chair. Go to medical school. There are a lot of things people tell me. People are constantly trying to tell me how to live my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've killed a lot of children.
But this particular
child, I did not kill. And neither did this team in Miami. Because they were like, okay, well, there's got to be something we can do. This baby is living on borrowed time. And we can't just let this fall apart because the 3D printer is broken. So one of the doctors pulls out Google Cardboard.
Because he had that?
Sure. I have Google Cardboard.
So do I. I mean, it's very inexpensive.
Yeah. Doctors are nerds.
Bucks. Yeah, that's true.
They got Google Cardboard.
All right.
You can get them for free in the New York Times a while ago.
That's true.
Like, they were just giving them away.
Yeah.
So he puts the 3D image of the heart into Google Cardboard, into a 3D viewer.
Wow.
Puts his phone up to his eyes.
Wow.
Moves around inside the heart. Looks at it and goes, all right, I can fix this baby.
Wow. That's incredible.
I know what we can do to fix this baby.
It's amazing. I hope it's not just a doctor trying to pass off looking at his phone as doctoring work.
Maybe it was.
But it resulted in some positive...
But we know that the baby lives at the end of this.
This is pretty amazing.
So does it matter? Does it matter if he was playing a video game? Does it matter?
If he was playing a doctoring video game?
Yeah.
No, So the idea is because it was...
trying to think of a VR game, and guess what? There aren't any,
There aren't any yet. Yeah. He was playing Eve Valkyrie. So the idea is because this is superior to just looking at various still images of the different sides of the heart.
So previously, what was going on is before 3D printing, before 3D imaging, they would look at 2D images of the heart. So you see in medical shows where they put up the different sort of X-ray images and they're different slices, or you look at the different, sort of the animation of an MRI, right? And it looks like the brain is pulsing, but what's really going on is you're looking at different thin slices of the brain, animated over time, cross sections of it. So with this, you used to have to look at images of the heart. Here's the front of the heart. Here's the side. Here's the back.
Right.
Here's an image of sort of what's going on in the middle. And you had to sort of put all that together in your head and kind of use your spatial reasoning and your spatial thinking to be like, I think I'm picturing what's going on in this heart. But you couldn't see very fine details.
Yeah.
And once you open up the patient is opened up. And if something isn't the way...
It doesn't feel like you're there.
Yeah, that's the biggest
It doesn't really
thing.
feel like you're there. It's like, is this... I mean, I see that it's a heart, but I'm still sitting at my table.
You'd think doctors wouldn't need something to get visceral because it's literally going to get visceral for them later on.
Oh, it's going to get real
Like, they're
visceral.
getting all up in the viscera later on. Like,
literally.
that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd want a break, but no. Constantly visceral.
They
with
want
them.
immersion.
Yeah. But, I mean, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. If you show me a diagram of the inside of, like, a computer.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I kind of get what's going on with this computer. But if
I can poke around
I open
and-
up the case and I look inside a computer, I have a much better sense of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Or even going back to IKEA furniture. Like, I think I've measured and I think this table will fit here and I think it will look like this. How many times have you gotten a fucking decision like that wrong?
Right. Well,
And that's a simple decision. That's not a baby heart.
right.
That's a table.
That's not a live and die.
Now, I have bought a lot of tables in my time.
You have.
And I will tell you that I can picture it pretty well now.
Well, you're an expert. Most people don't have that skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. Clearly, the hero of this story is the VR.
Google Corporation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Google.
Is the VR technology. Is the villain of the story the guy that just didn't fix the 3D modeling machine? The 3D printer?
Stan?
Yeah. Is
Stan in maintenance?
Stan's the villain? Because I like that we have a hero. I like that we have VR coming in to save the day. But if the 3D printer hadn't broken or had gotten fixed in a timely fashion by Stan and his team, maybe we wouldn't have to worry about Google Cardboard.
If Stan wasn't printing out his Iron Man Mark IV armor piece by piece,
yeah.
because it takes a really long time and Comic-Con is just 6 months away,
Yeah.
Stan,
Nice going, Stan. Listen,
that 3D printer is for baby hearts only.
Stan, no one is arguing that you don't look phenomenal in the Iron Man armor. No one's arguing that the pictures of you at Comic-Con last year were incredible and the plans for this year are a step up. No one's arguing that.
No,
Stan.
of course not, Stan. And nobody's arguing that, like, when you grow that goatee out, you do bear a striking resemblance.
It's striking.
Yeah, it really is. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
And I appreciate the time you spent both on the facial hair maintenance,
Yeah.
and your personal physique improving.
But how about a little less personal maintenance?
Yeah.
And a little more maintenance on the goddamn 3D printer, Stan?
That's your job, Stan.
Stan! Also, that arc reactor is not real, Stan.
Yeah, we're gonna need that back.
We're gonna need you to stop wearing that Think Geek arc reactor t-shirt
Yeah.
underneath your scrubs.
Please.
It's just weird.
It's creeping people out.
Yeah, Stan's definitely the villain. 3D printers, though, are finicky. Have you ever had one?
I've never had one, but I can understand how they might be. Because I have an actual printer, like an ink printer. And in what?
That shit doesn't even
In
work.
60 years of ink printing, they haven't figured out how to make them not pieces of junk.
That's why it's cheaper to buy a new printer than it is to buy ink now.
Yeah.
Because you might as well just kick a printer into the sea.
That's right.
If you got a printer to print out one thing,
congratulations, you're
made
ahead
your
of the
money
game.
back.
Yeah.
That's ROI unlike anyone has ever seen on a fucking printer.
Yeah.
Now take that and multiply it by another goddamn dimension.
By another dimension. Yeah.
So here's what's up. He looked at this thing and he goes, "Oh, dude, I totally have this idea." And he created a new surgery that basically routed the right ventricle around and made one ventricle do the work of two.
Wow.
Just an entirely
awesome.
new, because he looked at this heart in 3D on Google Cardboard, which is even the shittiest
Yeah.
VR.
I mean, imagine what he could have done if he had Oculus or Vive.
That's not even a Samsung Gear.
No.
That's like
Cardboard is $10.
it's the
literally $10.
It's two plastic lenses and the lowest resolution possible.
Yeah.
And this guy was able to use it to create a pioneering new surgery.
Yeah. I think
This is what VR is going to do,
Yeah,
man.
I think that medicine is really in a place that is going to benefit a lot from VR, and especially when we get the sort of one-to-one inputs into VR, and these guys are going to be able to physically practice surgeries in a virtual environment. I think that's going to be a real game changer.
Yeah, I mean, we're way farther off than that than people want to believe. Dude,
no, we are, but I don't think it's...
I can't even get, like, I've used a lot of this VR stuff, and I can't even get my hands, even in the ones that have, like, the Vive or, like, the Oculus Touch controllers, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing something with my hand, and my hand is in another place in VR.
Well, but that's exactly how it was when you were doing surgery. I mean, that's no different than you doing surgery.
Sure.
Your hand is sometimes in another place. You don't even pay attention to it.
Well,
I mean...
here's the thing.
Yeah.
I got a lot on my mind. You know?
It's true.
Sometimes
table
I'm
designs.
doing a surgery. Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like I'll be doing a surgery and I'll be looking at the operating table and I'll be like, ergonomically, for me, if this table was just a couple inches higher, this would be perfect. Like just thinking about RSI and things like that.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're thinking about stuff like that, I can't get my head in the baby saving game.
No, and your hands certainly are. They're in the baby saving game. But
my
your
hands are physically in the baby saving game.
Yeah.
Sure.
But your head is not.
My head is not there.
Your head's in the table game.
Can I tell you something? Even when my head's not in the table game, sometimes my hands are in the game. My head's just not in the baby saving game, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. Sometimes it's just, it's not that interesting.
Yeah. You save one baby, you saved them all. That's what I told the court.
But you didn't save any babies.
Well, debatable.
That's true. Saving is a broad term.
It's a broad term.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like we have to define what saving a baby is.
Right.
Before we tell me that I didn't save any babies.
Exactly. So that's why I object, Your Honor. And this whole court is out of order.
It turns out it was a virtual court the whole time.
Virtual court!
Virtual court!
I'm very excited for what that can mean for medicine and for a whole lot of things. You know, one of the things we talked about on Tomorrow Daily, Intel was showing at CES this helmet that is actually a safety helmet for work sites, but also has AR so that a foreman can tell people like what to work on in real time, and it's all networked between all the workers.
AR is the real jam.
Dude, it's all going to be different. Everything is going to be affected by this technology.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. And the fact that these guys already saved a life using a $10 piece of crappy version of this
That's what I'm saying.
Pretty amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Imagine when they're standing over an operating table with just information overlays.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or, like you said, when the world's greatest baby heart surgeon can't get to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, put this baby under the surgery robot. I'm putting on my goggles.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'll do the surgery from 700 miles away.
Imagine when IKEA has it so you don't have to go to the showroom.
Oh.
You put on the VR goggles and I know.
Any table you want.
Yeah.
Any table.
God.
All the tables.
I can just arrange them in my room and just know what it's going to look like.
That's going to be...
That's what's really going to help society.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's what's really going to change things. It's crazy because we could go off in 100,000 different directions.
Well,
because
that's why
there's nothing that this isn't going to help. I know it feels, and that's the problem, is we're at this point right now where it all feels really gimmicky and really silly.
Yeah.
Because most of what is being shown to us is like games, or like the 3D Avengers Game of Thrones experience, or you know what I mean? Like,
or sit in the middle of Cirque du Soleil and spin your head around.
Like, it's all cool, but like there's a lot of stuff that's really going to benefit in a lot of concrete ways for this. I can tell you that just using have you ever used there's an app called Verse on iPhone and Android for Google Cardboard. And they basically just collect a lot of news organizations, everything they do in VR. News reporting in VR changes everything. I have a buddy that just goes to different places. The UN sends him to different places. He sticks down a 3D camera. He went to the Gaza Strip.
Wow.
Stuck down a 3D camera in the streets, stuck it down in some people's homes, stuck it down in schools, stuck it down everywhere. And was just like, we're just going to show people what life is like here. Just watching that, you can't help but it either changes your opinion or changes your feeling, or has this ability to make you more empathetic in a way that just watching news and hearing somebody narrate the news to you can't do.
Yeah, because you're there.
Yeah.
And I think people that haven't tried it maybe don't get that yet, but it's going to happen. And in a very short period of time, I think in 20 years, it's all going to be commonplace, and it's going to change the world. And it's certainly changed this kid's life. Can you imagine? One of the things that I can imagine, if this kid hopefully grows up and has a wonderful, healthy life because of the surgery, maybe someday he'll be able to go back and like get in VR and do a tour of his own heart when he was a baby. Like he could like look at the 3D model of his own heart, walk around it, check it out and see what it was like when he was born. How crazy is that idea?
That's pretty nuts. I have a feeling that baby, that future teen, will just walk around and be like, this is the lowest resolution baby heart I've ever walked around in. I'm
going to go back to playing Techno Wars 4000.
I've walked around in a lot of virtual baby hearts, and this is the most low-res, disgusting virtual baby heart I've ever walked around.
You know what, though? He
Thanks,
will not
Mom.
be able to deny the quality of the table. Because technology may come and go, but beautiful furniture is forever.
And I think that's the real takeaway here.
Yeah.
Is go out, get yourself a really nice table.
Yeah, don't compromise on table quality.
No, God, no. That's what we learned here.
Yeah.
Was a baby's life saved? I don't know. I've already stopped paying attention.
Wasn't listening to that part. The part that I'm more interested in is how good those tables are.
Craftsmanship, everybody.
There you go.
What's the nicest table you own?
What constitutes a nice table for you?
Let us know on Twitter. I guess you could also tell us what you think about this baby VR thing. Once again, I've already forgotten about it. But you can let us know on Twitter. I'm at acarboni.
I'm at Jeff Canada.
And you can hashtag that craftsmanship. And hey, by the way, if you enjoy the show.
Oh. You know what the show is to me, Anthony? It's like a finely crafted table.
I appreciate that, but I wasn't
two-legged
talking to you.
table that somehow manages to stand all on its own. Because each of us is one of the legs of a table. And a table usually needs 4 legs. Not this table. Not the We Have Concerns table. It's a 2-legged, sturdy, well-crafted table that I am thoroughly enjoying, and I appreciate you asking me about it.
Anyway, if you're listening and you enjoy the show, we have stuff that you can wear on your body.
We're going to sell it to you.
We have concerns.com.
Finely crafted merchandise.
Finely crafted. Better than the table Jeff was just talking about. We have concerns.com/shop. We have Running Is for Dick shirts. We have Brock Life shirts. We got hats. We got hats that say they's aliens.
Yeah, dude.
We got a
mug.
We got mug.
The best mug.
The best motivational mug in the world. Remember, guys, we don't do any advertising. We just do Patreon and our own store to make money and support the show. So if you're enjoying it and you want to publicly show how much you love the show, there's a great way to do it. We have concerns.com/shop.